Welcome to Bitcoin Nightly News. I'm your host, Hugh Manatee. I bring you on my daily Bitcoin journey and share with you the themes and stories of the day. It is currently Tuesday, December 3rd. Bitcoin's price is, let me get it for you all, 96,000 on the nose. Let's jump into the news. Starting with ETFs from Bitcoin Strategy Platform, I wanted to cover Friday after Thanksgiving here in the US and yesterday's ETF flow numbers. So Friday after Thanksgiving, we had an inflow of 3,100 Bitcoin, and then yesterday, Monday the 2nd, we had a nice inflow day of 3,600 Bitcoin and some change, with BlackRock having the biggest day yesterday. Awesome. Really solid. Good to see that kind of pick up again. That's really good stuff. And I want to move into Jeremy Siegel on CNBC. Neil Jacobs shared this. Pretty interesting video. He is an economist and I believe a teacher at the Wharton School in Philadelphia at Penn. But he's always on CNBC. And I think this is worthy of sharing. 58 seconds. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
I'd also like to comment on, this recent Trump tweet, if you would want to call it, about 100% tariffs on the BRIC countries if they start a new currency. I find that really curious because really I think the biggest threat to the dollar being used as a reserve currency is Bitcoin, which we all hear, Trump is a big supporter of. So it seems a little bit strange to tell them don't produce an alternative reserve currency when really Bitcoin is, being talked about by many countries in the world as their alternative currency, some of them getting rid of gold and going into Bitcoin. So I'm a little curious on how that's going to play itself out once we hear all the details. Well, I'd also like the countries if they...
Sorry, guys. That was Jeremy Siegel. He is a professor emeritus at Penn, at Wharton. Really interesting perspective. He's really commenting on Trump's critique of BRICS nations, saying that they're going to start their own currency. And Trump said that if they do that and undermine the hegemony of the dollar, he's going to slap tariffs on all the products from those countries coming into America. And Siegel's point is, Trump, you're talking about the same type of alternate asset that they are. They're talking about Bitcoin. You're talking about Bitcoin. So he's kind of confused by why he'd say that, which I think is interesting and kind of what I think is very telling about what I think is going to happen in 2025, that it's just going to hit us in the face. And, it's just going to be all these countries buying Bitcoin. And pretty interesting to hear him say that on CNBC. He's surprised by it, but I think net, he understands that the global stage is looking at Bitcoin as an asset, and Trump himself was in Nashville talking about Bitcoin as a reserve asset. So he's kind of talking, they're all talking about the same thing. They're all talking about Bitcoin. With Trump, there's some more news for his cabinet. Actually, not his cabinet, but an appointment. Trump taps Paul Atkins for next SEC chair. This is from UnchainedCrypto.com. Really interesting. I'd never heard of Paul Atkins besides, people posting about him over the last few days, that Trump was going to see if he'd be the SEC chair. I found this article and read about him, and I wanted to kind of share what I learned about him through this article. First thing in the article that I thought was interesting was he was the first libertarian to serve as an SEC commissioner, and that was under George Bush. So he's a libertarian, and number two, he served as a commissioner for the SEC before, and he's served under Republican leadership. So big takeaway from the intro. Looks like Trump has reached out to Atkins already about the position and is waiting for him to accept. I haven't heard anything from the Atkins camp that would make me think that he's accepting it or not accepting it. I think we're just waiting for the news either way. I wanted to highlight down here this paragraph, which I'm going to read to you if you're just listening, was super interesting and kind of the background that I wanted to kind of hear about Atkins. So Atkins served as an SEC commissioner under President George W. Bush and is widely respected in conservative legal circles and amongst the establishment Republican Party. Since leaving the commission, he's become outspokenly supportive of the crypto industry, having co-chaired the Token Alliance at the industry group Digital Chamber of Commerce since 2017. As founder and chief executive of the consultancy Potomac Global Partners, Atkins has advised digital finance companies on regulatory compliance topics since 2009. I think this highlights his experience, one, at the SEC, and two, once leaving the SEC, getting into digital finance, and I think he does understand the industry, crypto and Bitcoin. I don't know if he's like completely orange-pilled or a Bitcoin maxi or anything of the sort, but in line with the rest of Trump's appointments and cabinet, seems to be pro-crypto and not crypto neutral, and certainly not anti-crypto. So the team vetting candidates for the chairperson position reached out to crypto industry leaders 2 weeks ago, asking for their preferences, demonstrating how much Gensler's unpopularity has figured into Trump's latest nomination. So it looks like under some of the advisement of leaders in the crypto industry, they gave Atkins' name as someone to float. So looks like that's happening. Pretty good for crypto in general. Very unlike Gary Gensler. This from Michael Riani. Apple Pay and Coinbase have joined forces, and you can see here in this picture on Coinbase, you can use Apple Pay to pay for Bitcoin and crypto purchases. This is cool. This is good for Coinbase. I wanted to follow up this plus for Coinbase with an issue that Invest Answers highlights, and an issue that I've had as well, and a warning also to all listeners about Coinbase and centralized exchanges. So this is Invest Answers. He's a person I follow on YouTube and X, a data-driven and reliable source for alpha on equities, Bitcoin, and crypto. Highly recommend him. But for this purpose, we're really talking about an anecdote of his. That's something that happened to him personally. He tried to move Solana off of Coinbase and was given this message of degraded performance regarding the Solana blockchain. I'm not here to give pros or cons or, shill Solana at all. What I'm really talking about is Coinbase's ability to thwart swapping and transacting outside of their platform. This is not the first time that I've seen messages like this. They said that it was the Solana blockchain that was the issue, not Coinbase. However, I'm extremely confident, and James is as well, in Solana's reliability at this point, and they, I think, are trying to cover up the fact that Coinbase is doing this themselves. I even saw with Marty Party, they posted average settle times for different blockchains, and they had Solana at 16 minutes. And I really think that that's wrong. All the data says that that's wrong, and I really do think it's a Coinbase issue. I wanted to share my Coinbase story that happened recently. I was moving Bitcoin off the exchanges, and I sent a test transaction to the destination, which went through, and then I tried to send the remainder of the Bitcoin right after, and I got a fraud protection alert, which I don't mind actually. So I had to submit an ID and go through some other security measures, which was totally fine. I'm happy that Coinbase would want to protect my Bitcoin and make sure that there were no fraudulent transactions. I'm fine with that. However, after I went through those transactions and had my account unlocked, my account was still on a 24-hour ban from buying, selling, and transferring Bitcoin and other crypto on the account. So it delayed that transfer by a full day, just kind of trying to kind of choke or dam that crypto within their platform, I felt. And James had something similar, and they used a different reasoning for a different issue, but I think still comes down to the same problem, which is Coinbase is trying to keep your money on their exchange. And you can look on Glassnode. James from Invest Answers shared this in his video today. The balances specifically for customers of Bitcoin on exchange is dropped off dramatically. And I think as we head into this kind of mania phase of the bull run, those with Bitcoin on exchanges are kind of seeing this on X and saying, I don't really want Bitcoin to be $200,000 and for me to have a 24-hour delay on getting that off the exchange or selling it or anything like that. So they are moving it to another platform or to themselves to custody because they don't want to deal with Coinbase when things get really frothy because they know it's coming down the pike, and so does Invest Answers, so do I, and now so do you. Some more news. Canadian publicly traded company, Bitcoin Well Incorporated, adopts a Bitcoin Treasury reserve and is raising $2 million to buy more Bitcoin. Hello, Game Theory, and thank you, Simply Bitcoin TV. Here's a note from them. Hello, investor. You may have seen this morning that we have purchased Bitcoin and added it to our corporate treasury. 7.53 Bitcoin purchase for an average cost of $137,551. Sorry, Canadian dollars. They aren't real dollars. They're Canadian dollars, which is basically fake money in a fake country. Further, we have opened a convertible debt offering to continue adding Bitcoin to our corporate treasury and other business initiatives. Here's a brief summary of our release with a link to the full thing. $2 million in convertible debt. So they're adopting the Sailor strategy. Great to hear. Thank you, Bitcoin Well Incorporated. And any Canadians in the comments, don't come for me. Canadians are cool. I'm just not a big fan of your government. Not really a big fan of many governments nowadays, but especially yours. Oh, speaking of not being a fan of governments, this just in from Bitcoin Archive. France trying to propose a tax on unproductive wealth, which would include unrealized gains on your Bitcoin. I'm not going to show you the audio for this because it's in French and who cares, but they're trying to confiscate more of their citizens' wealth in France and probably across Europe as well. What else is new? That's the news. Michael Saylor shared an update for Mara, which I saw as well. We talked about Mara yesterday, big Bitcoin miner, raising money yesterday and on November 21st, I believe, in their press releases. November 21st, they raised $1 billion, and then yesterday they announced that they were raising $700 million plus a $105 million option. Michael Saylor has shared that they've upsized its bond offering to $850 million plus a $150 million option. So this raises it by, I don't know, $200 million or so. That's fantastic. Mara's really going in deep here. Saylor again tweeted a video of Tom Lee on CNBC. I like watching Tom Lee. He sticks to his guns. I wanted to share this video in case you didn't see this clip. Listen to Tom Lee about Bitcoin in the next 4 weeks.
Do you want to We always get a Bitcoin comment from you before we let you go. Normally, it got stuck under 100. That's a pretty, it's a psychological level, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think some of this could be, there's a lot of folks who don't want Bitcoin over 100,000, and some of it may be the exchanges themselves are concerned because there is a pretty low supply of Bitcoin available over the counter. So you have a supply shortage, and if Bitcoin makes a move above 100,000, I think there'd be a big chase. So I'm still confident Bitcoin's going to close much higher before year end.
Before year end.
Before year end, yeah.
So break $100,000 before the end of the year?
Yeah, well above 100,000 before year end. It's just a matter of time.
It's December 2nd. It's not that long, Tom. So it's going to do it in the next 4 weeks.
Tom makes bold short-term
I know,
calls.
you're nuts, and they all come, usually they come true. Do you want to...
Love that last point. Usually they come true. It's just a matter of time. This is one of my favorite minutes on CNBC about Bitcoin. Tom Lee has been a ardent proselytizer of Bitcoin and promoting its fundamental values, and I think sticking to his guns for the next 28 days or so is just freaking great. I tend to agree with him. I think the second half of this month is going to be exciting, and I'm excited for time to unfold. That's our show today, guys. Thank you for tuning in to the Bitcoin Nightly News. Again, I am your host, Hugh Manatee. Please hit that like button, share to a friend, subscribe on YouTube, follow me on X for daily Bitcoin content. Again, I have this account and make these videos because I want a time-stamped diary of everything happening in Bitcoin, because I think it's an evolution of money for our species, and I think it's important. I'd like for as many of my fellow Americans and bipedal hominids in general, human beings, to understand this asset and really study it. It's super important for our time. That's why I make these videos. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and tune in tomorrow. See ya.